stage of the fire? What stage is the fire in right now?
Incipient.
Incipient, right? Anybody remember the 4 stages?
Incipient, growth, fully developed, and fully evolve and decay.
Right? But understand that that's a linear way to describe it. But can the fire go back and forth a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah, right? If we close up all the doors and seal this thing up, that fire could go fully involved. And once it runs out of oxygen, because the doors and windows are closed, what will happen?
Decay.
It'll go into decay. And then we show up and open the door and break a window, and what could happen? It could go back into growth and fully involved. Okay, so it's not, it doesn't travel one path. It can go back. Oh, I know what else I want to talk about. Look, take a look at the smoke levels. Once this thing starts pumping out smoke, where it is, right? Where the smoke starts and there's air below, we call that the neutral plane, right? That's where those two things are equal. If we see smoke coming out the top and nothing on the bottom, it's letting us know a couple things. What kind of flow path is that? You guys remember? Bidirectional, right? Because air is coming in from the bottom and then smoke is coming out from the top. That's important. We like that one because that means if we're crawling in with the hose line and air's coming behind us, right, we're protected and it's coming over top. Now let's say the whole thing's coming smoke out. What are we calling that? Unidirectional, right? It's only coming one direction. What's that also a hint for us though? If all smoke is coming out here, I open the front door and it's top to floor to ceiling smoke coming at me. It's taking no air from what I just opened. Air's coming from somewhere else, right? It has to have air, can we agree? So it's getting it from somewhere else. Maybe people sleep with the window open. Maybe a glass window or door failed. Maybe somebody left the door open. Maybe somebody forced a door on the other side. Who knows? But that lets us know. There's also another thing, and here it is right near, right? We're seeing a bidirectional flow path right now. Smoke coming out the top, but air is sucking in from the bottom. Right? So that's what's feeding this fire. There's also something else when we're seeing all smoke come through. Sometimes that can be indicative of a below grade fire. Because if we don't know this is on a slope and there's a window open down here, you open the door, you're like, how the hell is this getting, I'm getting all smoke. Where's this getting the air from? It could be below you. Usually when you see bidirectional, it means you're on the level of that fire, right? Because it's getting air from there. It's not getting air from somewhere else. We talk about reading smoke, we talk about volume, velocity, intensity, and color, right? Are we seeing the smoke change at different points? Right, the color change a little bit, the velocity change, the volume change, yeah. We affect that a little bit by fiddling with these doors and windows and letting the volume fill up. You see this thing puffing out and then sucking in? You watching that? Look at the color of the smoke. So this white stuff down here is some of the cellulose materials burning, right? The wood and all that stuff. This stuff up here is some of the glues in that thing burning. So different levels of toxins as well, different levels of flammables in this smoke versus that smoke. Now we're seeing the flame come out. Notice what Lieutenant Tinge is doing, right? He's basically burping this thing. And as he lets smoke come out the top, smoke will stop coming out the bottom. He's creating a unidirectional flow path, right? Because this thing will start taking air in from the bottom and take it out the top. Why is it going to do the exhaust out the top?
Yes.
Heat and gas.
Where does heat go? It goes up, right? So that's where it would rather go. It would rather take air from the bottom and send it out the top. It's the whole concept of flues and chimneys, right? And fireplaces. So he's affecting it, right? So take away these little sliders and think of them as doors and windows. Think of them as windows that we just walk up with a hook and just break willy-nilly without having a hose line in place. Are we moving the smoke into different compartments in the fire? Yeah, right? And who does that affect? The victims inside. All right, so now we see this fire's getting close to ripping, right? And we're a truck company, we're a squad company, we don't have any water with us. We reduce some of the hazard there. Are we going to lower the temperature? Yeah, that's going to bring it down. And it might even put this thing back to a smoldering phase or to the decay phase, just by occluding oxygen. A lot of the stuff you guys need to know about fire behavior, you learned in cards mass. You learned in fire extinguishers, right? We covered the different ways to suppress fires. Oh, where's all that flame? What the hell happened, right? We put that thing into decay. But, we're gonna grab that lighter and see if we can light that smoke. But that stuff is still flammable. So it still had the heat, right? It still had the fuel. It was an oxygen problem. And once it gets it, it'll start supporting combustion again. Just keep it. And the fire's back. So let's see if we can get some vent point ignition here. If we can get some of this fire to travel, right? So we got flame down here, smoke up there, but what's in smoke? What is smoke? Smoke is fuel, right? Let's see if we can get it to catch. Oh, you seen it? Okay? That flame is not coming from that upper bedroom. Right? Where's that flame coming from?
Smoke is igniting.
The smoke's igniting. The fuel in the smoke is igniting once, but it's not doing it at the window. Why not at the window? What is it? What's going on at the window?
Too rich.
Too rich to burn. It's got a bunch of fuel, not enough oxygen, but at the top of those clouds of smoke, it's got the right mixture. And it can support it for a little bit, then it goes away. Why is that important? We need to know that that smoke is hot and that smoke is flammable, so even if we pull up and it's not flaming right at that moment, is it still hot? Is it still dangerous? Yeah, right, so we can't drop our guard. Look at that. That's all it needed, the right mixture. So we can't drop our guard and go, oh, it's not even a fire, this is just smoke. Nothing to worry about. Oh, there's still something to worry about. Let's take a look at what water does. It's out. I got another one. Hang on. That squad company was too good at closing all those doors. Back there we go. Another thing to think about when we're talking about engine company operations is never turning your back on the fire, even as you're pulling the hose line out. And this is why. Right? Oh, it's out. It's in decay. We're good. We got the knock. And that thing can flare up right behind you. So notice as he applies water, right, we see some of this white stuff coming out, right? AKA steam. That's the water converting to steam. But that's just because you see white smoke, that's not always indicative of steam. You want to address that part? Seeing white smoke. Seeing white smoke and calling it steam. And that being sometimes a misnomer.
Right, so smoke is just products of combustion, right? Gas, steam, particulate. If you have a large enough area and the smoke has to travel through the space, it's under enough pressure because the fire is hot enough, it will strip the particulate off of it and it will emit as a lighter smoke. The first video that Count Kylo showed you guys, the one on Church Street, it was a fire building, but presenting as the B exposure to the building you were looking at, the smoke was very light. There was no water on that fire. That was not steam in the sense we think of steam. That was very hot fire, right? So don't let your guard down just because it's showing light.
So what we're hoping to have happen is this thing burn again. We're out of fuel. I'd like to get a stick. Okay. I'll load it. That's probably dry. It's not too good. All good. So we got this thing going again. What's the smoke like in that room? Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, I'll choke that down and see if I can get that one to pop. So I don't want to put the fire out, but what I'd like to do is create a bunch of nasty, dirty smoke, have it go upstairs, and have you guys see what that smoke explosion looks like.
Not pumping yet.
Just crack it. A little more. Basically, when a smoke explosion occurs, that volume of space fills up and gets super hot. It can't contain anymore, but because the chemical process is still happening, it's got to go somewhere, and it finds a weak point. A broken window, an open door, even just a little bit here, and just kind of burps a bunch out, and then sucks back in. If you're there for the burp, you're like, whoa, there's a bad thing happening. If you're walking by when it sucks back in, you go, oh, nothing's happening in that room, and then you might not adjust your plan accordingly. It may show up later. All right, so let's talk about vertical vent. Right, this is something we take pride in. Something our companies do a lot of. Our truck companies do a lot of is the vertical ventilation. Right, where does smoke, heat, and gas go? Up. Right. Vertical ventilation is a solution for a top floor fire and getting lift, which moves the smoke, the heat, the gases. Right. Also, the solution to potential signs of backdraft. You see that yellow smoke puffing in and out, right? We don't want to open that door because I'm going to give it the oxygen. Let's take it up top, right? Get ourselves a relief of that heat. And the other thing we talk about in the classroom is balloon frame construction. Sometimes we're doing vertical vent because it's traveled the chases in the building, there's no fire stops, and it's going all the way up. And we want to give it a place to go so it doesn't find its own place laterally and spread horizontally, I should say. So, could you pull the... So let's just take a look at what the conditions do when he pulls the vent. So he's basically punching through right now. I'm doing it backwards. We would cut the hole, then punch through. Did it change the behavior? Right? Seeing the flames suck back in and taking some oxygen. Seeing that smoke puffing a little less. Where's it all going? Up, right? What did we essentially create?
Chimney.
No, we created a unidirectional flow, right? It's only going one way. It's coming in here and out there. That's what we want. Now watch this puffing though. This is indicative of something else. That smoke is getting pressurized. It can't come out fast enough. This is the Pepsi can upside down. All that soda wants to come out because gravity's doing what gravity does, but it can't come out. So just understand that this chamber is pressurized right now. This one's completely closed off, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give it a little bit. Watch that smoke puffing, okay? It's letting you know it's not getting out fast enough. So it may want to come out faster. And that's smoke, aka gasoline, over your head. Let's give it a little more intake. Okay, so now we're seeing a bunch of stuff happening. Vertical ventilation moving the smoke. But what's the problem with ventilation with no water? What will it eventually do? Did we change the fuel? No, it's still got plenty of fuel, right? We just added more oxygen to the problem, right? So vertical ventilation can help for a second, right? But if it's not in coordination with water, what's it gonna make the fire do? Grow, right? So just understand that it's not always a solution. It's a solution in coordination with what? Water application, okay? Now, this room over here is completely cut off from the rest of the structure, right? So there's some off-gassing and stuff like that, but who's got the tick? All right, are you watching the tick? So what we want to do, yeah, go ahead. He's just putting out the outside. We're not advocating putting nozzles in from the outside. Don't pay no attention to what's going on behind the curtain. All right. Okay, so this room is completely closed off. It's going to have some smoke in, but what we're concerned with, and Captain Lutcher pointed this out to the last group as well, is the temperature difference in this container versus this container. Okay, 55?
Sir.
See about the right distance? Is that going to be enough? It's not going to work until we open the door. It reads surface temperatures. Okay? So I want you to read this window and that window. Copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead, Leo. Yep. Whoa, there's a nice smoke explosion.
142.
On the left?
Yes, sir. 132.
Okay, and what about the right?
590. 600.
Okay, so what's the difference? Look at these containers. This one's got like, we'll call that like an access stairwell, an open stairwell to that second floor, right? So the fire, all the smoke is able to go there. This one, completely closed, AKA, person slept with their door closed and their window closed. What were those temperatures again?
About 100 and 700, sir.
100 and 700. Which one do you want to be in if you're the person asleep at night? 100. The 100, right? You could live in one. People like pay money to travel to places that are 100 degrees, right? People go on their own choice, go to Palm Springs where it gets to be like 120.
Let's do this. Is this structure fully involved?
Great question.
Is that structure fully involved?
No.
Okay, so that's some people will say too, they see orange and they go, oh, it's fully involved. The reason why we don't want to say that is somebody's sleeping up here, right? And we go, sorry, it's fully involved. It's put water in from the outside. This is aerial ladder, pipes go up, building's gonna go down, right? But not for these people who are sleeping in a 100-degree room. They're uncomfortable. They might be choking, right? But we can save them, okay? So that's why, and then one of the skills we taught you to do that was what? Ladder rescue, right? This is a call for the ladder rescue. Hey, there's somebody in that bedroom, right? Everything's all closed up. What's the first thing you're gonna do when you go in there to make sure? Eliminate the flow path by doing what? Closing the door, right? And then you turn it into this compartment. Smoky, crappy, what's the temperature? 49? 150, okay? Still survivable for a time. But we gotta get them out there, we gotta get them to definitive care. This house is lasting a lot longer than, Now understand, if we leave this open though, and uncontrolled, what could potentially happen? Fire could lap up in there, right? Something like, even in containers like this where it's completely closed off, something as simple as drapes, right? That are right in that window and the heat gets hot, right? And where have we seen that recently in our town? Wasn't that a contributing factor on Davis?
Yeah,
The
what?
window, no, Davis,
The high rise.
right? They had window treatments out the 15th floor and the 14th floor caught drapes. And that's what turned a single-story high-rise fire into a two-story high-rise fire, and then further spread. Pardon? 12th through the 15th, there you go, terrific. Hans, did you build this one differently? Monday's box.
Might have put some pieces to tighten it up around the bottom to the top floor.
Monday's box did not last as long.
And there was furniture in this one, if you didn't notice.
I did see, I saw, it has a pillow. It has an OSB pillow.
Fuel in there.
It's a truck room.
So let's do this. Open up the top. Let's talk about bidirectional, unidirectional, and below grade.
Changes
Can I
everything.
get the can on the outside just to protect this part of the structure real quick, please? There, perfect. Okay, all right. So, bidirectional down low, right? Products of combustion coming out, but it's sucking stuff in, right? And you can see it because there's flame moving in, right? And smoke moving in. But what do we have up top? Unidirectional, right? So understand that sometimes reading of that, yeah, close that off. All right, now this thing's ready to go. I was like, man, this thing's putting up a hell of a fight. Not for long. NFL, not for long. All right. So that gives us an indication, right? There was a below grade source. So that floor to ceiling smoke, it's either there's a ventilation point wide open behind me, or there's something below me. Are we worried about below grade fires in this town?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? And not just where you think. Not just in the outskirts hilly neighborhoods, right? But what do a lot of the downtown buildings have? Pretty much all the downtown buildings have basements, right? So we have to think about that. We can't just think of below grade as, oh, because it's a building on a slope. We do think of that, but don't forget about basements. Especially the old parts of downtown in which the basements are shared. So I'd like to get these bidirectional here and unidirectional there. There you go. Okay, so there you go. Then you got it right here, right? Floor to ceiling smoke, bidirectional here. Some's coming out, some's sucking in. All that is just chucking out. Here's the secret. That's vertical ventilation when you open that upper stair window, right? It's not what we think about, but is it vertical to the fire? Yeah, right? So it's doing what it thinks you want it to do. You broke that window, opened that door, and it goes, oh, these guys cut a hole. What size is our hole? Normally, our starter hole. 4 by 4. How many square feet is that? 16 square feet of that. How about an open door? It's like 3 feet by 6 foot 8 inches, right? Remember when we figured that out, how much that was? 20 square feet. So an open door above a fire is larger than the hole that we cut on that fire, right? That's getting a bigger space. Can't support the combustion. Can for a little bit, but what's happening? There's so much smoke, it's too rich. Even with all that oxygen up there. So enough smoke gets chugging up here, and it's out. Is that smoke still hot?
Yes.
Is it still toxic? Is it still flammable if it gets somewhere else?
Yes.
Yeah, right? We could have convective currents, right? Convection alone could catch another structure or a thing on fire. That's pretty impressive.
That is, yeah.
And you can hear the power of it too. Good job, man. That was fun. Everything's going. Ange, nice job on the house. So normally by this point, I'm talking to you guys about collapse zones, but I don't think this house is going to collapse right now.
What about in the contained room? Is that still, is there?
The container room's probably still good. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Let's knock it. We'll close it all down.
Just so you know, he is controlling the prop. We are not advocating for streams from the outside. Okay? I don't want you guys show up to buildings and start spraying the siding. Okay? Oh yeah, I'm cooling it down.
What's the temperature in the box?
250. 250.
250. How about in the upper right corner?
Yeah, 250, 240.
All right. How about right here, Liam?
Oh, there it goes.
1,000.
Okay. So again, big difference between closing that door, right? So when you go to sleep tonight, what are you gonna do? Okay, close the door, right? Now you know. Also notice the different color of smoke, right? Different things burning. You see how yellow this stuff is, right? This is actually like the glues and the resins heating up. It's holding the OSB together, but it is a different color than the structure. A lot of times when you see the brownish smoke, that's indicative of the actual deep-seated structure burning, the actual wood, dense wood going. What am I missing, Darius?
Miguel opens that top there. The edges are silver, really nice. See the outside of the line.
Oh, it's hot. So now he shut down the vertical vent, took away the unidirectional. Probably gonna have a bunch of little bi-directional windows here. Although it's getting enough air from the outside, maybe not. So workability. Do I need you to pull up and you guys, Lieutenant, it looks like this is a bi-directional flow path. This is a unidirectional flow path. No, right? We just need you to understand that those things can change, right? And they can mean different things. Fire behind you, fire on top of you, fire below you. That's what I want you thinking about. Go into the fire and just think, where is the fire? Because who has the solution?
We do.
You do. What's the solution?
Water.
Water. You have it in your hands, right? So solve the problem. Now we're going to talk about collapse zones. What's the collapse zone? Right? If you look at IFSTA, it's time and a half. I think if you look at a couple of our books, it's 1 1/3, 1 1/4, whatever. It's taller than the height of the building, right? Because when buildings collapse, they don't just like fall over flat like a pancake, right? They collapse and move, and they also send burning embers. The reason why this is a problem for us is we've actually permanently injured and ended careers on the collapse of defensive fires. This house did not do what that house did. So, all right. I don't know what you did, Ange, but this was a very set out to you know. So it didn't even do my thing. So, that's okay. So yeah, so it can fall, normally it can fall larger than the height. Okay, so you guys have to be aware of that. What happens on defensive fires is we drop our car. Okay, so we go and we're sitting there, and it was cool for the first 8 minutes, then 20 minutes. You're sitting on that hose line for 45 minutes, you're like, I'm gonna get closer, screw it. Right, and the Chiefs pushed you back for a reason. You're, I'm gonna get closer, and now you're up against a building. But the reason why you're not inside is because the Chiefs are telling you, hey, this thing could go. There's no more life hazard. This is a property hazard. We're just defending the block at this point. But firefighters, in their efforts to want to do good, get closer and closer and closer. right? And they think, what's the big deal? I'm not that close to the building. Well, when buildings collapse and fall, they don't fall their height. A 7-story building doesn't fall 70 feet, right? For one thing, when it hits the ground, it continues to disperse. But two, it travels both horizontally and vertically, right? So it goes out and away. So you guys have to be aware that the collapse zones exist for a reason. That building's not just gonna fall down like a nice little pancake and you're gonna be okay. That building can fall down on you. So even on a defensive fire, when our guard is down and we're not inside the building so we feel super safe, we might not even have our VAs on, you can still get injured. And plenty of firefighters have been injured in the collapse of structures on the outside of structures when it was already called defensive and it had already told, hey, we're not saving any lives here today. We're just gonna let this thing burn and try to protect the structures near it, the exposures. Okay? This thing is burning like an SOB.
That was a good one.
Let's let it keep going. So another thing we want to talk about, when we talk about door control, these little panels were basically the doors to those rooms, right? So think about this. Think about it this way. One, when arson is looking for cause and origin of fires, this is the kind of stuff they're looking for, right? This is called alligatoring. Okay, that they're looking at the depth of char. How much burn does this thing get? The more you have, the closer you are to the source of the flame, right? So they're looking for those V patterns. They're looking for the alligator. They're looking for the deep-seated charring, right? See how it's got some light charring here? Gets a little darker here and kind of flaky. And then here, it's like big old freaking reptile skin, right? That's letting you know this was closer to the heat source, closer to the origin of the fire. So we want to preserve that kind of evidence for them because we want them to be able to prosecute arson if it was arson. We want them to be able to solve the crime if they have a crime. But let's think about this from a different perspective. Let's think about this piece of wood, which is thinner and weaker and poorer quality than all the doors inside your house. Okay? So let's think about, this is the hallway that's burning, and this is your bedroom door, and I'm inside the bedroom. We come across this closed door and see this flame. We think, oh, it's fully involved. There's no savable items here, right? There's not even worth searching.
Yep.
But on the other side, it's this. Completely clean.
Here's how this goes.
Unburned.
No, man, you don't get the pipe.
And this is crappy half-inch OSB.
All right.
Thank you.
Hang on a sec, guys. This is just crappy OSB.
This is getting the
So think about that for our customers. Everybody pay attention, please.
All right.
Think about that for our customers. Think about that for our citizens, right? You're crawling down a hallway and you see a door like this, you go, ah, there's nothing worth saving in there. But to the person on the inside, this is what the conditions are like. Do you think someone can survive? Right? That's through half-inch OSB. Now take that and make that a full 1 inch, inch and a half door. Right? Take that and make it a fire rated door. I have a buddy who says a closed door is an open opportunity. Right? So if there's a door closed, there's a chance there's a life behind it. So one, sleep with your doors closed, right? Because wood works as a fire, and this is not fire rated anything. This is just regular old OSB. So think about when the structure is actually fire rated. Sleep with your door closed, save your life. Number one. Number two, you come across this door, doesn't mean there's nobody worth saving on the other side, right? We're gonna search that room, because here's what the inside of those walls look like. There might be a savable life there, and that's our most important mission. Copy? Yes, sir. All right, gang. What stage is the fire in now? Decay. All right, nice job. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, Shane, are you ready?